The moment you clicked on this video, I know what you were thinking. What? How? When? Where? And why? As crazy as this claim might seem, it's not that far-fetched to think that two people who initially can't stand each other could end up developing deep feelings for one another. Or, at least in this case, one character for the other. By nature, Jax is known for being a pretty obnoxious and hated character who couldn't care less what anyone thinks of him. And while he definitely deserves the punishments he gets in some episodes, he's still human inside that avatar that is now his body. After suffering loss and rejection, finding a safe haven in Pomni might have started to change him. And there's a ton of proof, both within the show's canon and outside of it. Even if it seems hard to believe at first, recent events provide a mountain of evidence that this could actually happen. So come on in and join me under the big top, because we're about to explore how these characters went from being total strangers to one of them possibly taking the first step toward something more. But to do that, we first need to take a look at how this love-struck pair met. Chapter 1. How they met. It was just another day at the Digital Circus. Kane gave his introduction, our favorite members were making their appearance, and everything was wrapped in the harmony and melody of a cheerful, catchy song until, suddenly, a jester randomly appears and tumbles into everyone's lives, tripping them up. And who's the first person she stumbles into? Of course, none other than the Purple Rabbit himself. Well, his virtual self. His first comment about her is to ask Kane if she's one of his NPCs, or just another loser like everyone else who ended up there. Right from the start, Jax shows that it doesn't matter if you're new or not, he's going to unleash his most sarcastic and mocking personality, even if the innocent soul who just fell in needs a helping hand. No, he'd rather be a total jerk at the first opportunity, making it crystal clear what kind of person he is. Even when Pomni is having like 30 existential crises at once and tries to comfort herself by pretending it's all a dream, he mocks her by sarcastically agreeing. Though, admittedly, not as rude as you might expect. Their interactions are limited to specific moments where she's confused and he's having fun using everyone else as cannon fodder for his own amusement over and over and over and over again. Anyway, you get the point. If they ever exchange words, it was for an unintentionally funny situation, or because the rabbit was merely curious about her opinion. But after the massive reality check Jax got in episode 4, he needed to find the moment to drop his usual act and let a small part of his true self show. And in that moment, who's better to do it with than Pomni? It's not just that they had a moment to themselves, but after he spent so much time alienating most of the cast, by his own choice, who else could he have a normal conversation with, free of jokes or pranks? So they talked about how they were each doing. Gangold interrupts them and he simply says goodbye. Not bad for the first steps of a budding friendship, huh? And even though it's just a basic interaction, let's not kid ourselves. For Jax, this is huge progress. And boy, what a massive shift it would be in their relationship between this episode and the next. Chapter 2. Is it love? Even though this episode is supposedly about Ragatha, the real focus was clearly on Jax and his relationship with Pomni. It's no surprise to anyone that Jax spent the entire episode trying to get Pomni's attention, sometimes subtly and other times very obviously. For starters, he dedicated an entire story to her, making her the center of attention. He assigned the one person who understood her best as her assistant and made a point of telling everyone not to make her uncomfortable. This isn't just a throwaway detail, as he himself goes out of his way to calm her down or even flirt with her during tense moments. But the biggest clue is that he takes on a role very similar to Gumigu, a close friend who made Pomni feel welcome before he had to leave in the previous episode. Jax might have designed this adventure as a tribute to Pomni, knowing she can no longer talk to Gumigu, as a way to remember the good moments amidst all the recent chaos. And the signs don't end there. He's the one who approaches her to genuinely start a conversation, to learn more about her, to get her opinion, and even to talk about his own insecurities. He's found the safe space in this gesture that he doesn't have with anyone else. Jax is different around Pomni. He's not the same jerk he usually is with the other characters. He genuinely seems to believe he can let his guard down with her, be sincere, or at least he's trying to be. A key example is when he opens up to her about his issues with Ragatha, as the two of them share a complicated past involving the abstraction of Jax's friend Ribbit. This is the reason Jax is so guarded. Ever since he lost that person, he hasn't been the same, preferring to close himself off and push everyone away rather than risk getting attached to someone again. But it's different with Pomni. Maybe it's because they're similar in some ways, or perhaps, though we don't know for sure, she reminds him of Ribbit. This is why Jax repeatedly tries to keep Ragatha away from Pomni. Whatever happened in their past, whether it was his fault or not, he wants to start a fresh friendship with someone in this hellscape. Knowing that Ragatha can be two-faced, he doesn't want Pomni to get mixed up with someone like that. He knows he's not so different from Ragatha himself, but it seems like he's determined to be genuinely sincere with Pomni. It's funny and ironic to think that the guy who claimed to hate slice of life anime ends up acting just like one of those closed off selfish protagonists, trying to get the attention of the person he's interested in, approaching her with random questions, opening up to her, making her laugh, understanding her, and even feeling insecure and apologizing if he thinks he did something she didn't like. And let's not forget his interactions with evil Pomni. Though brief, you can see these two immediately clicked.
Get owned!
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Ah, she's cool.
Chapter 3, The Confirmation. Look, it's no secret that the creator has said on more than one occasion that the story of the Digital Circus isn't about romance. But that doesn't mean the characters can't have feelings for each other, leaving space for us to wonder what might happen if that were to change down the line. Michael Kovacs, Jax's voice actor, mentioned in an interview that the character Jax would get along with best is clearly Pomni. Even before episode 5, the signs of their interaction have always been there, in shorts, comics by Gooseworks, and promotional animations for places like Japan. Even in non-canon content like the shorts or merch promos from Glitch, the dynamic between these two often ranges from a bickering friendship to something bordering on romantic. I wouldn't be surprised if Jax jokes in the future that Pomni has a thing for him. It's completely in character for him to do that, even as a way of dropping indirect hints. It's also worth mentioning that in a Q&A, when the creator was asked for her opinion on the Funny Bunny ship, she replied, "I couldn't say if fans will be happy or angry with how things are going between them. This leaves two possibilities open. Either they don't end up together, or there are hints that they might." Let's be realistic, guys. We're not going to get a hard confirmation either way. They'll likely leave it open to individual interpretation. So yeah, sorry folks. I don't think we'll ever be explicitly told who ends up with whom. This isn't Murder Drones, but that's not going to stop the show from letting us read between the lines and see subtle details of genuine attraction, especially if the theory about Pomni and Jax managing to escape the Digital Circus turns out to be true. Who knows if they'll take the same path toward a future together? Or, knowing Jax's character, maybe he'll just keep his feelings for her to himself. After all, looking at the big picture, Jax is the character who spends 90% of his time being an absolute jerk to his companions. But in this last episode, his role felt different. The interesting thing is, the change doesn't feel forced at all. You still get that classic Jax vibe from his actions, but as we've already seen, he's not doing what he'd normally do. And if he is interested in Pomni, it's because, unlike the others, she's new to him. She's sincere, she's afraid to speak her mind, and maybe, just maybe, it's because she reminds him of someone else.